never met a tater I didn't like. Baked, scalloped, fried, mashed. I like a fondant potato, a Duchess potato, an Anna potato. Just about any kind and any way. This girl loves a potato. I am making my family's favorite potato soup. And I know it's very simple and everybody probably has their own recipe, but I'm going to show you how I make mine. My husband is recovering from COVID and soup just always sounds good to him. And when it's cold outside and he's a little under the weather, this is always a request. Now I start by sauteing some veggies. If we were going to be fancy, we'd call this a mirepoix, but it's really just onion, carrot, and celery, and typically about twice as much onion as anything else. At the end, I add about 4 or 5 minced cloves of garlic. And we do that at the end because otherwise the garlic will burn and it will have a really bitter taste. Now then, once our veggies are really soft, I'm going to add 2 quarts of chicken stock or broth. I do that for flavor because, you know, potatoes are rather bland. So you could use water, or if you want to make this a vegetarian dish, you can use vegetable broth. Now it's time for them taters, you guys. I use about 8 good-sized russet potatoes that I've chopped into cubes. Whoop! Man overboard. I want to give a couple of good pinches of salt, some good cranks of some big, freshly cracked black pepper. I am just going to give it a good stir to get that salt and pepper all incorporated. I'm going to crank it up to a good medium-high heat until it comes to a little simmery bubble. I'm going to put the lid on to just hold in all those flavors and make sure the steam kind of goes back in and makes those potatoes really fluffy and soft. And then I'll turn it down on low and I'll just let it cook for probably another hour till they're real mushy. And there you go. Okay, so this is what my potatoes look like after they've cooked for a little over an hour. I want everything to be just kind of like this big concentrated mush. Okay, y'all. This is not a low-calorie meal, so I add about a cup of heavy whipping cream and a whole 8-ounce block of cream cheese. Again, that's for 8 really good-sized russet baking potatoes and 2 quarts of chicken stock. Okay, I'm just going to take this cream cheese and kind of pinch it. I would cut it, but it sticks to the knife, and fingers are some of the best tools God gave us in the kitchen. So I'm just going to take these little pinches of cream cheese, put them down in my stock, nice and hot, rich stock. Now, I'm not saying you have to do this, but I might also add about a half a stick of butter, or at least a few tablespoons, because, you know, potatoes. I want this to be not a lumpy soup. I do want a little bit of the potato consistency, but I don't want big chunks. So I take my old-timey potato masher and I just kind of run it through a little bit, a time or two. These potatoes are really very soft anyway. So I just kind of want to smooth this soup just a tad more. All right, here we go. Now I'm going to check for seasonings. And I will tell you, I know that I'm going to need white pepper. White pepper is a flavor that cannot be duplicated by black pepper. I do use both in this recipe. Oh, doggy. Okay, I know, there's a kitty cat. I'm gonna have to pause, everybody, so the dog can go chase the cat. This is one of the favorite things that Phoebe loves in potato soup and my mashed potatoes. I used to stick this in when my kids were little. They thought they didn't like pepper. So I would kind of hide it by putting white pepper in white things like potatoes. And it gave it that wonderful seasoning without them seeing it. So there are little kitchen tricks, you guys. That's one of mine. Usually at the end, I know I'm gonna need a little more garlic, and so I sprinkle garlic powder in, even though I've used whole cloves of garlic at the beginning. Yes, it needs a little more salt, and it definitely needs a little more cracked black pepper. Every family has a different level of taste and seasoning that they like. My husband likes a lot of pepperiness and spice to his food, so we get that with the white and the black pepper. All right, then we're just gonna simmer that with all that cream cheese and added seasonings, and then it'll be ready to eat. Can't wait. The last thing I'm gonna do while the flavors are simmering at the very tail end of the cooking here is chop up a few little green onions, just the tops. I kind of want this to taste like the best stuffed baked potato you've ever had. So we top it with sour cream, bacon bits, and some sharp cheddar cheese that's been grated. And then of course these aren't really chives, they're green onions, but they taste delicious on the top and just give it a little zing. Okay, so here's how we doctor it up. Put a big handful of sharp cheddar, and then do a dollop, as the commercial says, do a dollop. Sour cream right in the middle. And of course I have impeccably clean hands, so I just use my fingers for everything, guys. We're gonna sprinkle some of those beautiful little chives or green onions, then a good little pinch of bacon bits. Isn't that a lovely thing? Now to taste it. The proof is in the pudding, or in the soup. Oh, so yummy. I hope you'll try this. Before I go, I just want to remind you guys to have faith like potatoes. That saying came from the great evangelist Peter Marshall. He wanted us to remember that we should have faith that is solid and simple and sustaining. So just don't walk by what you see in this world right now. It's very confusing and maybe a little depressing. Just stay the course. Keep that faith. We know what God is and what He can do. We gotta aim to keep looking forward, never backward. Have a great week, you guys. I love you.